Hello, everybody. It's very, very, very nice to meet you all virtually in these hard times of COVID. I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're wearing your masks. I hope you're social distancing. My name is Merafe Moloto. I'm a South African woman, hopefully that's obvious, who grew up in the township of South Africa during apartheid. When I was 14 years old, I decided to move to America because I wanted to go to an international boarding school, and I went to the United Moloto College of the American West. And if you want to know anything more about that, please send me a message. I was looking for a bigger experience, a more international experience, and I wanted to have more diversity in my life. After that, I went to Swarthmore College, where I studied economics and political science. It was an amazing, amazing, amazing experience where I met a lot of people, but it was a small college, it's a liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. Let me know if you want to talk about that too. I then decided that I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore. I wanted to be a businesswoman. So I worked on Wall Street. I worked at Goldman Sachs. I did real estate investment banking for a number of years. I also then moved on and I worked at a startup that was funded by many people in America, but was based in New York because I love New York and I wanted to stay in New York. And I proceeded at that juncture after 3 years at that company doing business development for Europe and America. And I was able to do Europe because I had taught myself Spanish in high school and I learned French in South Africa. I decided that I wanted to go on and do my MBA. So I was fortunate enough to do the hard work to submit a veritable application to Harvard Business School, where I spent 2 years making amazing friends, learning incredible things, and being taught so many things by my peers. I then decided that I wanted to return to South Africa, so I'd spent 15 years in the US, and I started working at Standard Bank. Standard Bank is a very large bank in South Africa. It's actually Africa's largest bank, and I worked in private equity. So because we're talking about venture capital and private equity, this is a space that I'm absolutely passionate about. It's a space where I've really learned to come into my own. It's a space where every day there's a different challenge between your many stakeholders, your investors, your investee companies, your investee management teams, your supply chain managers. And I feel as though every day is a different challenge, and that creates a lot of learning very quickly, which is something I'm really excited about. And it's even more difficult, I think, when you're in the venture capital space. After that, I worked at an internationally funded, but mostly American-based private equity firm called 1001 Voices, and we did investments across sub-Saharan Africa. I then decided that I wanted to start my own company. It's called Moloto Capital Investments, so that's my last name, Capital Investments, and that was founded in 2016. And I'm the CEO of that company. And I love what I do every day. We make investments in manufacturing, in pharmaceuticals, in FMCG, which is fast moving consumer goods, and as well as in agri-processing and agribusiness, because I think that food security is a really important thing. I think that making sure that South Africans are able to build their own companies where you can drive export revenues based on your capabilities locally. You can do beneficiation, a topic I'm happy to talk to you about in greater length at some point, where you're able to empower previously disadvantaged people, and particularly women who were disadvantaged, where you also are able to make a real impact around food security, which is an important thing globally, but particularly important in Africa, as you might imagine, because of our high levels of poverty, as well as our high levels of starvation rates. So what I do every day is an absolute joy. It's important that whatever you decide to invest in, whatever business you decide to build, it's important that you're very emotionally, intellectually invested in that idea. Because unless you're not, if you're not invested in it, you're gonna lose steam, you're gonna burn out, because investing is a very, very hard slog. But if you are committed, if you are aligned with your partners, that's the employees, the investment partners, the management team, you will stay the course. That's what I've learned. So that's who I am, but I'm boring. What I'm here for is you guys. I am so honored to have the opportunity to talk to you at a time when everything in the world seems so dark. We've got trade wars, we've got COVID, we've got Black Lives Matter, and Black lives haven't mattered for a long time. And we want to be very clear about that. This is your time. If I were you right now, I would be extremely excited about how you can make a lasting impact and an indelible footprint on the universe in whatever you decide to do. I do want to share some nuggets with you. I want to share some nuggets with you, not only as a person who's been in business, not only as a person who is Black, not only as a woman. I would like to share something with you, having worked between London, New York, and Johannesburg, certain things that are quite important for you to carry in what I call my little suitcase of tactical knowledge for what I need to do, because we all know that disadvantaged people, or previously disadvantaged people, always have to work much harder to get to the same milestone as their relative peers who have privilege. Here are some trinkets from my side. The first thing is any meeting you have, always make sure that if you're not there 15 minutes before the stated time, you are late. Okay? So what you should do is get there 30 minutes before. My dad taught me that. And it's really important. It shows intention, it shows commitment, it shows discipline, and it shows fortitude around your plans. So always arrive at a meeting at least 15 minutes before, 30 if you can. Now, I lived in New York, so that train system, sometimes that MTA can hurt you, but you can make it. The second thing I would say is remember that perception is the co-pilot to reality, okay? What I mean by that is very, very important, especially for people who typically get treated differently because people don't give them the benefit of the doubt. What I mean by that, in very, very simple terms, I know you guys are sophisticated, but let me make it simple for myself, is that if you are at McDonald's and you're making fries, you need to behave or dress like you are ready to be the woman or the man who's going to stand at the till or the cashier, the checkout point. If you're at the checkout point, you need to act and dress like you want to be the person who's going to be the manager. When you're the manager, you need to get your mind right about how you're going to own the whole thing, like Ronald McDowell in Coming to America. It's really important that you understand that people will assume whatever you provide them. The other example I can give you is presentation. If perception is the co-pilot to reality, you have to draw people into your dream, into your vision, into your mission, into your purpose. And the way you do that with excellent execution is you make sure that any document, any elevator pitch, any conversation you have is pitch perfect. So no spelling mistakes, no errors. Make sure that your story is tight. Practice it in the mirror. Do what you have to do to make sure that by the time that person has either left the meeting or left you in the elevator because you're going to the top floor, because that's where you're going, the top floor, that story is tight and people will follow you. I can promise you that. Anything that is presented sloppily will be responded to sloppily. So do yourselves a favor. Put the lipstick on your document, not yourself necessarily, on your document. You can see I don't wear lipstick, I ain't got no time. Make sure everything is great. Rely on your friends, rely on your family, rely on your advisors and your mentors. It doesn't mean everybody's going to tell you a positive story. Please listen to the difficult feedback you may receive, because that feedback may save you. Now, I went to Harvard Business School, as I said, and we had 3 cases a day for 2 years, over 5 days a week. The one thing that people often fail on is not because they're not smart. It's not because they're not good at math or engineering, or they're not good at managing people. It's usually because they get blindsided by living in their own head all the time and not listening to feedback. Now, you don't have to accept all the feedback, but you can pivot with it. In other words, you can take some pieces of it, leave others, add other pieces of feedback from someone else, and build greater. The idea is that use your community to make you great, because you're going to run the world. Can't do that alone. I do have some notes. I'm going to take a quick check. Financing. I understand that it would be very difficult as a VC company to raise money, particularly if you're of color, particularly if you're of color and a woman. It is really, really important, very important, that you understand what their criteria are before you make any submission, number 1. Number 2, that you go back to your partners, your mentors, to make sure that your application is airtight, watertight, whatever the term is. But make sure that you do that. And then make sure that you've mapped your market. Make sure that when you say, I have a business idea, I know why it's needed, I know what problem it's solving, I know what joy it's bringing, I know who I'm going to target, I'm going to be specific, I know which geographies I'm going to target. You've got to build, right? So what you're not going to do is say, I'm going to sell everything to the world in one day. That's not how Amazon started. And that's where Jeff Bezos is today. You're going to start small and you're going to build on that. But remember that the investment game is around validation, meeting milestones, raise the money, check. Have a business plan that is veritable, check. Make sure that the market responds to you, check. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world, pivot. Pivot, but again, seek advice. Then you move on, and suddenly you will be global. And I believe it with you guys, because I know you can do it. I know you can do it. And I guess that is more or less what I would like to share with you. I'm sure I'm going to have another opportunity to share more. And I would absolutely love it if you gave me ideas as to what other areas you would like me to touch on. And very importantly, I hope one day we'll be able to meet when COVID is over and the borders are open. But I'm wishing you all of the best. And I have all the faith in the fact that you're just by mere fact of listening to this, you're already committed. And at the ages of between 11 and 18, if that's your commitment already, you're going to fly high. All the best and take care.